also known as Diamond Dave, the founder of the highest paid part-time job in the World Options Trading Academy. And let's talk about Peloton and whether or not they're going to be able to kind of reverse their decline. And if you listen to this video really carefully, if you pay attention, I'm going to give you some information that can be beneficial to you if you catch it. Some people not going to catch it. Some people will. That's just how the game goes. And let's talk about Peloton. So what we've seen is that, they came out of the gate. They hit this 150 mark as a result of what was going on with the pandemic, and they sold off really, really hard. Definitely they're under their IPO price, and they're kind of trying to figure it out. So they had a CEO change. They got a guy in there now who's an ex-chief financial officer. Now he's a CEO. He has better relationships with financiers, with people that got big money. And I think that's one of the reasons why they brought him in. So he's going into like a cost-cutting program. They got to cut a lot of the fat out of the company. They're not in a really great state from a financial standpoint. Look at the profit margin, operating margin, return on assets, return on equity, operating cash flow, levered cash flow. It's all negative, right? Still got a really strong institutional buy-in at around 90%. So somebody somewhere sees value in this particular deal for a lot of different reasons. I think they're at a point now where being an equity holder can be kind of precarious. However, people going to do what they're going to do. And let's kind of talk about some of the changes that they made. One of the biggest changes that they made now is that they're allowing you to rent the bike, right? So now, as opposed to you buying the bike, you can rent it or buy it, right? So $59 a month, $70 a month rentals, right? And I don't know if they financed the rental. And I think that's a good offer for them because it allows a person maybe at a different price point to get in. I still think that they're challenged on who their ideal customer is. They still have, and they've always had for a few years, their storefront presence. I think that can be an issue going under these cost-cutting measures because you got to deal with lease agreements, you got to deal with insurance. They don't have a massive amount of locations, but I'm thinking that they're in a place right now where every dollar counts. And I would wonder how long they want to carry the physical locations. However, I like the physical locations based on where they're at. They're more in kind of like higher net worth areas. In the Houston metro area, there's one around the Galleria. There's another one in the Woodlands. In Florida, they were in nice areas except the one. I wouldn't know why they put one in Jacksonville. But they got one in Tampa. I know where that's at. They got a lot on the southeast part of Florida coming up out of Miami. Those are nicer areas where people are very, very fitness conscious. Jacksonville's not a fitness conscious city, right? So that kind of threw me there. So I like that look for them. However, at this point, and I think that we may potentially be going into a recession, I think it can be challenging to where, okay, we're going to go into a Peloton store and then we're going to try to engage with this particular Peloton experience in the store. Because like I said before, I don't think they really know their customer that well. And what I mean by that is that I don't think they really know who they want to target these items at. Are they a media company or are they a physical inventory company? So I like this rental deal because it can potentially help them move a lot of the physical inventory that they can't move. And that's one of the challenges is that the physical inventory wasn't selling the way they wanted it to, but they were trying to use that to get you into the media company, which is essentially their ecosystem. And I really think that they should have led with their ecosystem, but it is what it is. So one of the things that the CEO, who used to be a CFO, was able to do, he was able to get a $750 million loan, right? And they need that money to kind of hold them over until they can kind of figure it out, right? And this particular loan said it was underwritten by JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. And it's the pitch to stop gap to support the business plan and the stem of cash bleed. So he got some cost-cutting initiatives that they're going to get in. They're going to implement higher reliance on subscription-based revenue, better supply chain management. But the biggest issue is that the revenue from sales was going down on their front-end item. Let me go into the details. So it says the banks priced the loan, the 5-year loan, would pay an interest rate of 6.5 percentage points over the secured overnight financing rate at a discounted price of 95.5 cents on the dollar. The interest rate will raise by 50 basis points if the company fails to obtain ratings by either Moody Investor Service or S&P Global Ratings within 6 months. So I think that's going to be a key point. Let me go here. So secured overnight financing rate. what is that? And what it is essentially like a baseline rate. So it's a benchmark interest rate for dollar-denominated derivatives and loans that's replacing what we call the LIBOR. So essentially it's a baseline of what the rate is going to be, even though it moves. Here's from S&P Global Market Intelligence. Peloton launches $750 million first lien leverage loan for GCP. Commitments due today. So the term loan is offered at SOFR plus 650 with a 0.5 floor and an OID in a range of 95 to 96. The facility has a 50 basis points margin step up if the deal's not ready within 6 months of closing. The term loan is non-callable for 1 year, then callable at 103 in par in years 2 and 3 respectively. Yield to maturity is 9.05, 9.33. Now, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, it's not investment advice. If this doesn't work, they're going to be able to take over the company, in my opinion, right? And if they can get this loan rated within 6 months, it's going to increase by 0.5 BPS, and that can be challenging if you don't have the revenues. Because one of their biggest issues is that their revenues, their growth just dropped off a cliff. They stopped driving the same kind of revenues that they were driving previously. And they were spending too much money. So they went into an expansion phase, a scale phase, cost them a lot of capital, but then they weren't driving the revenues to support that. And they couldn't figure out where to get money from to support the expansion. But the problem is nobody thought it necessitated an expansion because you weren't driving the revenues anymore. So they're able to get this loan. Okay, cool. If you're an equity shareholder and Palantir goes bankrupt, you're going to get paid out last if you get paid out at all. If you get compensated at all, you're going to be the last person to get it. These guys will get paid out. I don't know if they got senior debt. They'll get paid out. But what I think we're going to see happen to Peloton, if they can't figure this out, who they owe this money to and whoever else they owe money to will sell the company off in pieces, because there are elements of this company that are very valuable. And that's why there was a talk earlier this year of a sale. The CEO said he didn't want to sell it, or they couldn't get the right kind of deal on the table. Therefore, I think people have told him, yeah, okay, we'll enter into this agreement, because if you can't make this work, we already know how we're going to cut this thing into pieces to get our money out of this deal, right? And so it's a 5-year term. So they got 5 years to figure this out, right? But I don't know if the $750 million is enough to carry them, or whatever this particular deal is valued at, is enough to carry them over the next 5 years. However, if they don't have the performance, they may not be able to attract any more capital to them, and they just may have to figure it out. But this is kind of why these people get into these type of deals, because they know you're distressed. So let me come in, offer you enough money for you to try to make it work. If not, I value the assets of the company in pieces as more than the whole company together. Because Palantir got a lot of sales data, right? Have a lot of customer activity data. They should have really good, robust data on the customers that actually bought these products and that are in their ecosystem. Somebody that knows how to leverage that data can be worth a lot of money. And that's what I want people to understand. But I just think that step up, if they can't get this particular deal rated, and I don't know why they can't get it rated, but they may not be able to, that may be a stress on their revenue, because then what it does is it makes this deal more expensive. And so those are the kind of things that I want to look at. So I'm going to continue to observe this. However, I think maybe in a year from now, this would be maybe a $5 per share company. But I don't think anybody cares, because like I said before, I think they want this thing to go bankrupt so they could come in and take it over, cut it into a bunch of different pieces, and then figure out how to extract value out of those pieces. So if you got any questions, hit me up in the comments. It's David W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave. I'll talk to you later.